Ladies and gentlemen, Group C of the End of the Storm North America. Towers of Doom is now our first map in a best-of-3 series between OVO and Gale Esports. The winner of this series is going up against Tempo Storm in the winner's match. Two teams, of course, want to advance out of Group C to the next round of the tournament, which would be the round of 8. Zeratul already banned very early on here by Gale Force Esports, and we have Zul banned out too. Zul actually one of the heroes that we've seen a couple of times now already in the North America tournament, but also in the European scene. We're seeing Lim Ming as the early pick. And already like a bit of a shift when we are comparing these matches to what happened yesterday. I mean, right now we could still see like a pick, for example, on a Falstad, which is very powerful on Towers of Doom because you have, in the later stages of the game, good access to all 3 altars when you have these 3 altar events on the map. So Falstad has the mobility that you can use to capitalize on that. So I expect Falstad to be picked at some point, or at least banned. Muradin would be a good start for OVO when it comes to the tank line, especially in the North American scene. Muradin is regarded extremely highly as the frontliner. In Europe, we see him nearly in every draft, but usually he's one of those picks or bans that happens a bit later in the draft. Cheers for the resub, dude. And I guess with Muradin, we could also see a Greymane. I mean, if you followed the game so far in North American playoffs, we've seen a lot of Greymane being played early on. We've seen a huge focus on Rhaegar and also on Thrall. So OVO has to make the decision if they want to go for damage now or if they want to add a healer. And Rhaegar has been fought over by nearly all of the teams. And therefore, it could be a decision for OVO to just let, for now, the damage slide and say, hey, we want to make sure that we lock down Rhaegar. But no, they go for that Greymane that we pointed out. And that would put Rhaegar into the hands of Gale Force Esports, if OVO really confirms the pick here. Greymane, of course, adds a lot of poke to your setup, which is really nice. And you can also jump in and dish the damage out. OVO, on the other hand, now with the switch over, Zagara can be quite nice with control on this map, but she's not as highly regarded in the last couple of days as before, so that Zagara picked this early is actually quite something. And whoa! So the Greymane doesn't really surprise. I mean, Greymane was more or less a given. What surprises a bit is that we have Uther being picked, like, immediately. We have seen a couple of Uther picks in the last few days, but not once has Uther been prioritized over Rhaegar. That, of course, means that we are very likely to see either an ETC to combo the Divine Shield off with the Mosh Pit, or we could instead see a melee assassin at the front line. It could be a bruiser like Sonya, it could be Thrall, it could be Illidan. So all of these options are still around, and that's a bit of an indicator for OVO at this point already what they can expect here. When it comes to ban, we could see them with a ban. Oh, they look at the Tyrande ban. Now that I find actually a little bit surprising. I would have said that they would either ban ETC or one of those melee heroes, one of those like bruisers that I talked about. Instead, Tyrande is now being banned out, and we have also a ban on Rhaegar by Gale Force Esports, which makes a whole lot of sense since they already locked down their own support. And they want to deny Rhaegar at this point. That kind of forces OVO to go into a Karazim. They could also like add, of course, Morales, which is a little bit more popular in the North American scene than she is in Europe right now. But as you can see at this point, we are having a Karazim already taken. And now the question for me personally is if we are going to see a Thrall on their part. They have Zagara already, so they still need someone to dish out a little bit more range damage. We have seen a couple of teams go into Lunara. That Falstad that I mentioned before is also still an option, so both of the heroes would be good choices here. With the Falstad more having a focus on the Gathering Storm right now, we are still seeing occasionally the Seasoned Marksman and auto attack build, but quite often Falstad is now played with the Gathering Storm and then with a power throw, and also then later on the Boomerang on level 7. Level 4 is a talent where you can actually like make a couple of changes as well. You don't necessarily have to go into power throw. You can also just simply decide that you want to make sure that you get your cooldown reduction in on if your trade is active, so that can work. But for now, we're going to see how Gale Force Esports is going to run this. Are they going to play with that ETC, or are we going to see something at the front line that has a bit of a higher hit point pool? Like, for example, Johanna, which as a solo frontliner is very sustainable. There's also Stitches to consider. A Chen would work as well, of course. I mean, like, he's pretty difficult to take down, and against Zagara, he's a very good laner. So Chen oftentimes used as a counter to Zagara, being a bit of a lane bully himself there, of course, and that will put pressure on Zagara, and in the later stages, and also give them quite a bit of utility during these fights if he goes for the Wandering Keg, which we've seen actually a couple of times here already. Apparently, Gale Force, they still want to go for another damage dealer, and Vala is currently what they're looking at. They lock her down, most likely going to be an arrow build. The multi-shot build was nerfed a little bit, and wave clear on this map can be a nice asset, but you usually don't see a high priority on it. With the arrow build, you get a lot of damage out. Vala has been changed slightly. We could also see, of course, the Rain of Vengeance. So far, most Vala players that we've seen have still gone into Strafe, but if you go into Rain of Vengeance, you get actually not only the stun out, which would be great against an ETC, for example, but you also have an opportunity then to dish out a lot more damage now that Blizzard changed the talent in the latest patch. OVO is going for that ETC, so Muradin and ETC chosen. To be honest, a couple of choices that I didn't really expect, like in the way that they were made here in the draft, and that also go a bit against what we've seen in the last few days, not only in North America but also in Europe. A high priority on Zagara for OVO, whereas in the days before, Greymane was usually prioritized a little bit higher. Gale Force Esports, they want to run that Uther and band out Rhaegar. The opposite was oftentimes the case when we've been looking at teams like Cloud9 when they played their match, for example, or Team Blaze. But still a solid setup for both of them here, especially when we're looking at the damage output. Gale Force Esports has, of course, a lot of range damage that they can use for poke, and then also like to burst the target down. Chen as the front line, there is not too much interrupt. Well, as I suppose there's Muradin and ETC. Hammer time on 16 would be a bit of an issue, but until then, Chen should actually like be in a pretty sweet spot and will most likely lane against Zagara. But well, game number 1 is going to start in just a moment. Towers of Doom is our map, so let's jump in and see which team is going to take the lead. Game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the Storm Playoffs Group C. We have OVO going up against Gale Force Esports, and to the left side of the map, Gale Force Esports currently with Equinox on Greymane. We have A on Vala, Mystique on Liming, Hex on Uther, and Fury is playing Chen in this game. To the right side of the map, the opponents, it's OVO with Insomnia on Falstad, Trap Queen on Karazim, the Oculus on ETC, Wilted on Muradin, and Giletto is playing Zagara. Towers of Doom is our first map here today, and the winner of this best of 3 series is going up against Tempo Storm then in the next round. Already the adjustment on Greymane, Blizzard has been changing his build a little bit, so in this case we're not seeing the perfect aim any longer. It's instead the Wolfheart, which has become a bit more of a popular talent on the hero since Blizzard introduced these changes. Vala actually not going for that arrow build that I suspected. On this map you can get a lot out of the arrow build if you go for the puncturing arrow and the siphoning arrow. Instead it's really the auto attack build apparently. Rancor chosen on level 1, and this is now going to become incredibly interesting because Blizzard changed Vala slightly. First of all, the multi-shot build is not as strong as it was before because the damage got slightly reduced, and at the same time they buffed her auto attacks and also a few of her talents. For example, the level 4 talent, Manticore, is now changed, does more damage than it did before. Equinox left the game, and therefore we're having a quick pause, which is actually brilliant for us because we can talk a little bit about what happened here, or what is going to happen. So that auto attack build on Vala is going to force her much closer in the fights. Like, one of the big advantages about having the multi-shot build was that with the composite arrow on level 1 you can stay at a safe distance, whereas an auto attack build forces you a lot closer to the fight itself. So that's something which in this case Vala is going to try to do. We could therefore also see Rain of Vengeance. Rain of Vengeance is a talent that is incredibly powerful if you hit it properly. The problem is, of course, that it's a lot harder to hit than just simply a strafe. So we're going to keep a close eye on Vala and see how she's going to play it here today. At the same time, we have on level 1 now the Gathering Storm taken, and that's actually a pretty sweet talent. With the Gathering Storm, you can do a whole lot of work here if you are actually able to just like land those, especially in the early game. So you can stack that damage up, and you can also then use the Boomerang. It's going to help Falsight especially to get a lot of, like with Boomerang together, which was also changed by the way, it will help him a lot to get extra damage in against waves. Like the wave burst is pretty crazy that you can get. Shen at the top lane in trouble, and whereas Karazim dies at the bot lane, we're having Chen eliminated up at the top. Insomnia is starting to fly over into the mid lane once again, but there was a change, 1 kill on each side. But of course, here comes that altar, where the teams are fighting over no tank in this case, but already a huge amount of damage output, thanks to all of those assassins that they're playing this game. Equinox needs to be very careful on the other hand. Uther is there. Here comes once again the poke from Li Ming from the distance with the orb. She went straight into the charge blast on level 4, and there's Manticore, 60% extra damage on every third attack, over 50%, which was the case before the patch. Still a fight over that altar. Nobody really going for it. Instead, we're having up here at the top still a bit of experience being soaked. The swift reflexes for Chen on level 4. Once again, in this case, the power throw for Insomia's Falstad. He's going to try to use that to stack that damage up. Can make it happen from a distance. Will that jumps away, nearly falling. He's about to die, but gets healed the last moment by Karazim. Job well done, but it forces them back, and Chen is already on the chase. He's jumping in, trying to go for Trap Queen. Hexo shielding himself. The kill against Falstad successful. Looks like Karazim might get away, and yes, he escapes, but of course that also results in the altar being channeled by the blue team. It's going to be the first 4 hits against the core to the right side, so job well done here by Team Gale Force Esports. OVO is slightly behind right now, but let's keep in mind that on this map in particular, especially the later stages of the game, that's where it really counts. And with the mobility that Falstad has, you can make sure that once that those triple altar events spawn on the map, that you have a pretty good chance of actually at least getting one channel. At the top lane, Wilted on his Muradin goes now up against Fury. Fury with the War Master Chen skin, of course, as already pointed out. We're seeing in this case the draft overflow is still taken for Greymane, so it is more or less a cocktail build that you see these days with Greymane. The adjustments being level 1 and level 13. And besides that, we're having on the side of Muradin also the Reverberation build taken. We're seeing one healing ward on the side of Karazim, who of course went for the heal build as well. And Zagara with a pretty standard style here, going from Reconstitution straight into the Envenomed Spines. So overall, a pretty decent start here for Gale Force Esports. They have a bit of a head start over their opponent. Their damage output is pretty crazy with only one frontline and a lot of assassins. They're still having a bit more of a sustainable frontline when we're looking at the setup for OVO, but if they can really use that, that's something that has to be seen. Especially, of course, ETC is going to be a bit of a threat in the later stage of the game, thanks to his mosh pit. We're already having the Brewmaster's balance taken now for the Panda. We are seeing Seeker plus Cleanse. And besides that, we have also the Cleanse choice for Karazim. And I've been talking about this a bit yesterday. Blizzard changed his level 7 talent. Echo of Heaven was for the longest time like the standard talent on Karazim, and it was a major part of his healing power. But Blizzard said that they don't really want him to just like heal with the talent, so they wanted to make it possible for him to go into Cleanse. Good kill against Chenya up at the top. So what they did was they increased his base heal, but they also reduced the amount of healing, like additional heal that you get out of the Echo of Heaven on level 7. And therefore it's still a great talent to pick if you want to increase your healing power, but if you need a cleanse, it's much easier now for Karazim to decide to make that choice. So that's exactly what we're going to see here. Chen is going to be back. It's actually the second time that he died already, so he needs to be careful up at the top lane. Zagara already with a channel here to the right side, and that's 4 hits already fired towards the left, so we have 36 versus 36, but the fight over Tribute, or sorry, not Tribute, but in this case Altar number 2 is still on. Looks like, at least for now, OVO decides to move back. They're trying to interrupt for the longest time, poking against Hexo, but they have to give this one up. And level 7 now on both sides, which gave us also the Boomerang now. So the new build on Falstad, if you don't want to go into the auto attack, Gathering Storm, into Power Throw, into Boomerang. And usually it ends with level 13 being the static shield, so that you have a bit more survivability, which is pretty sweet. Whereas on level 16 you're still going to have. We have also now the Searing attacks, and we're going to keep a very close eye on Vala. Vala is not going to be able to do as much damage, but it's more on top point damage than it was before. Good kill against Uther here. 3 kills against 2, and OVO is actually doing quite nicely when it comes to these team fights. The top lane, Chen and Muradin are still fighting it out, but that 4 versus 4 down here at the bot lane seems to end in favor of the red team, who also claims now another camp that they just stole. So job well done. The Oculus has to be careful here, though. It's already wrapping around a little bit, and he's very low, but that's additional damage against the structures down here. Equinox also very low in this case. Had to be careful there. Well, when we're looking at the damage, we have, by the way, Endless Creep taken on the side of Zagara, and also Battle Momentum for Muradin, so once again the cooldown reduction here for him. When it comes to the damage, Vala is currently still at 15,000, which is actually pretty incredible if you think about it. Usually you get a lot of the damage with the multi-shot build because you can hit so many targets at once with your abilities, but at this point it's really these constant auto attacks that they're seeing on Vala. Blizzard buffed the trade on Vala a bit, they buffed the auto attack damage, and also Manticore itself has been buffed, so if you're a good healer behind you, you can definitely use that. But you have to expose yourself a bit more to your opponent. And if this continues, then at some point OVO needs to do something about it and really jump Vala a little bit more. For them, level 10 is going to be very powerful, and that's the reason why. The Mosh Pit there for the lockdown against Greymane. Very well done. They have Maw and also Avatar plus the Palm. Have already used the Gust here as well. And this is now a setup in which they can really start to shine. But the Wandering Keck on and the Rain of Vengeance, I'm loving it. As I said before, Vala players going a lot more into either the Arrow build or into the auto attack build. And Rain of Vengeance has been seen a lot more often. But it's also a talent that is a lot more difficult to hit than a Strafe. So it's definitely one of these things where you have to be a little bit careful when you're trying to make an impression in these fights. It's also a very good tool, of course, against a hero like ETC when he starts to go straight for the Mosh Pit. So that's something that they have to coordinate. Already, one tower channel, they have the all tower at the bottom, and they hit Barrage against the coil. Well done here. More being used. Here comes the Keck, and ETC is down. They're trying to go for the second kill, and the resets are there as Karazim dies. We have also a kill on Greymane, but of course, in this case, the blue team is starting to start with a chase here. Having actually done a really solid amount of damage here already. And looking at the kill count, 6 versus 4 in favor of OVO, they're really starting to get a bit ahead in this game right now. The disintegrate resets were of course great for Li Ming to get some damage out here now as well, but in this case the altar was already channeled, and that was of course the biggest problem. We are still seeing now Giletto in the mid lane soaking the experience, and that's of course one of the most important things that you have to do right now. Towers of Doom can be a little bit snowbally in the sense that you can really start to dominate or like to dictate your opponent's movements if you do it properly. That's currently what we're seeing with that altar that was, or that tower that was claimed at the bot lane. They had to send someone down to take care of that, and now it's just like time for the camps. So at this point, it's really like one of those moments where OVO understands perfectly that they can really just like get ahead in experience and also dominate the positions here if they just abuse their position or their map control that they have. And especially with Zagara providing the vision, they have a lot of that. They already take the camps and force more of those hit points down on the towers that allows them to sneak in later on and drop that with a quick burst. And at the same time, there was the desperate attempt to get some experience from Gale Force Esports in the mid and the top lanes. They were attempting to just like close the gap and get level 13 in themselves, because that talent is going to hit very soon now for OVO, and it's just going to hit in time for that altar that was announced at the bottom of the map. So that's going to be a very important part. In the next team fight, one of the heroics that we definitely have to watch out for is not only the Mosh Pit on ETC, but it's also going to be that Rain of Vengeance on Vala. If she can land a great Rain of Vengeance here and lock maybe like 2 targets down, that would be perfect. Also for Li Ming, of course, with the damage that she can dish out. So this is going to be a huge win condition for them. If Vala is able to at some point like get that in, that would be great. They're already trying to take care of ETC. Great cleanse actually. Really nice cleanse. And Vala completely whiffing in this case. The Rain of Vengeance cleanse was just too perfect in this position. Very well done. 2 of the heroics, 3 of the heroics are actually already in cooldown. And now we are seeing OVO jumping in, and they are doing work. Great, more on the back line against 2. Now they can focus on the rest. But we have the ETC Mosh Pit and that kill. Yeah, the cleanse was a little bit too late to save them there. Not 100% certain if that Gust, by the way, was the best choice. I mean, the understanding behind this was, of course, well, wait a second. We're going to see another kill. No. Like, the idea behind the Gust was you maw, you gust the rest away, and you take care of the heroes in the maw itself. But it also kind of saved Uther. They still got the kill, though. They got the kill against Greymane, and that puts them into the 5 versus 4. So it's all good in the end. Uh-oh, that was a bit of a positional mistake here by Vala and Li Ming, and they pay with a price. They both die. Here comes a very early palm for Vilta, just making sure that he can go deep. He will have to jump out here. Fury is very unlikely to get that kill. A triple kill for them, and of course by now Falstad channeling the shots down here at the bottom. That's another 4 points on the core that we just saw here. Very well played on the part of OVO. So that last fight was actually like really interesting. I like that chance. I like the idea of like Maw and Gust. I mean, it's nothing like too new, but it's a very cool execution that they have there. They could in this case also have decided to go against like that, use the Gust a bit later, try to burst the Uther instead. But it worked out very nicely. They got the kill against Greymane thanks to the Mosh Pit with ETC. Completely isolated, no chance to interrupt the Mosh Pit, and therefore they ended up in a 5 versus 4 that they could win, especially once that Li Ming and Vala exposed themselves a bit too much and ETC could slide in from behind and use it. The Glass Cannon, of course, chosen at level 13 right now. We're having Frost Shot also on the side of Vala. And again, the fight at the bottom of the map with them attempting to go for one of the camps. And the camp has already been taken. Wilder jumps in, Chen in trouble. And wow, the Divine Shield kick. Keg is already awesome. A Divine Shielded Keg is even scarier than that. But the Unfettered Assault, by the way, also, you know, on range. So in this case, we have a lead in experience and also in core hit points for OVO. They're doing really well here in this first game, especially Karazim stays quite safe right now with the Spell Shield as a level 13 talent. And Falsa did not go into the Static Shield, but against heroes like Chen, he wanted to make sure that he can get a bit more damage out of his auto attack, and so went straight into his Giant Killer. Vala, by the way, went into the Frost Shot. He doesn't have the composite arrow on level 1, but the idea is to still have some control over the team fight here, and that can work out for you. In this case, you could have, of course, made a couple of adjustments still, but whoa, Vala actually eating a lot of damage. Talking Vala for a moment, by the way, she is currently at 29,000 damage, which is pretty solid, actually. We have Li Ming on 39k, 40k at this point, so doing a whole lot of work here. And still the red team, the one who is currently ahead. And they have already a great position for this next altar that was just announced. And there it is. The channel is happening. Zagara was interrupted, though. Everybody's clustered up in here. That's the perfect position for a mosh pit or more already. Oh, that did not work at all. Oh, the Rain of Vengeance, but denied already. Fury is about to fall here, gets healed by Uther, but the kill against Vala, and we're having the second kill against Uther as well. OVO, they win the fight, even though they actually screwed their combo up in the earlier stage of the battle. When ETC dove in to use the mosh pit, Falstad gusted everybody out of the mosh. That was quite unfortunate for them, but they still get the quad kill. They also have down here now the additional tower, and that's of course perfect for them. I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that. They're at 17 points in the core now for Team Gale Force Esports. OVO is at 32, so they are looking at an incredible position here, and we're seeing them taking camp after camp after camp on the map right now. The level 16 talent, it definitely helped. Stoneform for Mirrodin made it of course a lot easier for him to stay alive. We're having ETC with the imposing presence, trying to deal especially with that auto attack Vala, which is of course always a threat here. And it actually surprises me a little bit that Vala did not go for like Giant Killer here. She could have definitely tried to go for Giant Killer instead. Frost Shot of course can be nice if you want to have some control over the fight and slow your opponent down. But considering that there is a Mirrodin on the other side and you are going for an auto attack build as is, it was kind of expected for her to try to put even more damage on him. And her damage output is already very scary, especially of course when she has those hatred stacks up at 10, so that can be incredibly dangerous. But right now it's definitely the team in red that is running the show here. OVO is playing really nicely. We're currently seeing still in the mid lane one tower in the hands of Gale Force Esports, the one up at the top as well, but it's still a 5 versus 3 split. And a very ambitious boss call here, but they can make it happen. They have Gust, so they can use Gust everybody away, but of course they have to be careful since there's always the Chen with a keg, but it doesn't matter. They get the boss. That's 4 more shots against the core, so job well done. 13 to 39 now. Here comes that mosh pit once again. Li Ming trying to just like burst them away. Great palm keeping him alive. The kill against Uther. More against Chen, and that leaves the backline very open. Greyman is trying to escape, but Equinox is about to fall. They get the... What? They let him go! They let Equinox go! No idea why, but well, they at least kill now Li Ming. Zagara falls, but the kill against Chen is now dropping this into a 3 versus 1. But let's just face it, like no matter who would have... Like just one... I mean, no matter what you do, if you just look scared like at Greymane with like a very scary look, then he's gonna fall and die. So I'm not quite sure why they didn't finish the job there. But talking about finishing the job, in this case, they could actually get now 2 of these altars, which would drop the core of the blue team down to 3. So the mobility on Falstad is there. The altars have spawned, and they can just simply channel those, and this is going to be a nightmare scenario. Already, Vala zoned out up at the top. That's 5 shots fired right there. Puts it down to 8. And as Chen starts to channel the bot lane tower now, with the bot lane altar, we are going to see that core being diminished down to 3. So a great position here for OVO to win this first game. All that they have to do right now is either get a boss later on, maybe get one of those quick hits on another altar in a few, but they are definitely playing a great game here. It is still even talents on the other hand. I mean, like, you can still try and force a fight, and in the end, there's nothing that Gale Force Esports can do. They have to try and force that battle. but it doesn't really look like OVO is too hesitant about it. They're completely willing to commit to it. They have most of their heroic abilities up. Mon, Mosh Pit are missing though. They should probably wait for those. Fury is going to look at a Kek. He could try and do that. That cleanse is always going to become a bit of an issue here there though. And yeah, that's that 5 versus 5. By the way, Mosh is back up, and so is in a few seconds the Maw. So they can use that as well to put that in. Definitely the chance that they have at this point, but still, Falstad taking the top lane. We are slowly starting to reach towards level 20, which would put the Storm Talents into the hands of the red team here. So that's what they're trying to look for. When it comes to the damage output, we have Valaba at 46,000, Li Ming still taking the top spot here with 61k, and well, Zagara also with a very solid number, especially considering that she went for the endless creep at level 7 and didn't go for one of the damage talents like Battle Momentum, for example, which would have helped her to spam her abilities a bit more, especially that Hunter Killer, which got slightly nerfed by Blizzard, of course, but is still a great tool to use against an opponent. Mid lane pressure, we are having Wilted in position on his Muradin, trying to jump in from the side, double tank setup. 3 altars on the map, and that is where, once again, Falstad is going to get a lot of his value. Right now, it is a disaster for Gale Force Esports. They have to try to cover all 3 of them, and with Falstad just having the opportunity to fly in at any location on the map, it's going to be, of course, incredibly difficult. Especially since we are seeing the level 20 talents now ready for OVO, and with that they have a double Storm Shield against the potential AoE damage output that we could see from Gale Force Esports. Falstad flying down already. Yeah, well, and there's Equinox. He was waiting in the bush, and he needed to. He's trying to go for the kill. Palm already used. Not triggered, but the kill against Greymane, and that's, of course, in the end gonna be it. Or at least it should be. Nice gust here, and the channel is going to be successful. Not yet, though. And Somia might actually fall. Maw is there. Fury down. It's a 5 versus 3. And this is going to conclude things. Here comes that Rain of Vengeance as a last-ditch attempt, but the GG is called as the core fires its shots. And we're going to have game number 1, and in favor of OVO with the 1-0 lead in the best of 3 series here at North America Enter the Storm playoffs. Game number 2, everybody. OVO is currently in the lead against Gale Force Esports at the end of the Storm North America playoffs. And well, for now we are having Cursed Hollow as our second map, and OVO has the first ban. Question is, of course, now once again, is Gale Force Esports going to ban out Xul? We've seen the Necromancer a few times already, but at least today he was banned out so far. A very good ban at the beginning would also be, of course, once again, like, well, actually, like, I think they would probably lock down Falstad. So when it comes to bans, it's actually going to become pretty interesting. Okay, so they don't want him. They don't want Falstad. Apparently, they are saying, like, nope, we're going to ban him out. I was actually expecting them to ban someone else and try to aim for Falstad as a first pick, but instead they choose Li Ming. Falstad, of course, with the control over the bosses and the gusts, and also his mobility is just incredibly powerful. So in this case, Falstad is banned out, so is the Necromancer. Which leaves us with Zeratul. Clown cheers for the resub, dude. Yeah, not only Zeratul, but also Zagara. So once again, we're having, like, with Zagara, map control here. Gale Force Esports, in the last game already, they prioritized Zagara quite highly, which is a hero that we have seen a little bit less often than we used to. Normally Zagara, just like a couple of weeks back, Zagara was an immediate first ban or first pick, but right now she has moved down in the priority for most of the teams slightly. Gale Force Esports, they really value her still though, and she is of course very powerful and can be. Which we've seen also in the last game. A couple of these mobs were pretty strong. Zeratul also with the Void Prison, so that means that we have a lot of talents already for Gale Force Esports to section parts of the opponent's team off, or just like simply cover a retreat if you're trying to escape. Muradin and Stitches were the 2 heroes that OVO looked at, and as we already experienced in the first game, Muradin is one of those high priority picks in the North American scene. He's one of the best frontliners that you can have. You can easily play him as a solo tank, you can play him as a double tank. Haymaker has become an option as the heroic ability if you don't feel the need to go for Avatar, so there's a lot of flexibility as well. The interesting part is going to be the healer, I suppose, because in the last game we've seen Rhaegar banned out on the second ban, and Uther taken over Rhaegar, which is very characteristic, I want to say, for today's draft at least. But That would be an interesting choice, and they go for it. They use Tassadar, so apparently they are really afraid of Zeratul sneaking in and getting too much damage in. So they are currently just like saying, well, we want to have something to reveal you, and that Oracle is going to help. That leaves us still with Rhaegar around, and personally I believe that OVO is probably going to go for a ban on him, since Gale Force Esports would definitely pick Rhaegar if they have the chance to do that, even though we've already seen a few here. So OVO might try to go into something like Tassadar, maybe even with that Uther that they prioritized, even though with Tassadar we oftentimes see Tyrande as a bit of a priority. So the first thing that Gale Force Esports does is they actually like take Sonya away. That is removing one of the bruisers. It's moving a decent counterpart to the creep of Zagara, since Whirlwind can pretty easily used for that. And usually with a Fury management on Sonya, you have no real resource problems there. Currently the ban potential on the side of OVO. You could really go into a ban on ETC, I suppose, because ETC can capitalize off the Maw quite heavily. A Jaina can do the same, so if they want to ban out the damage component, that works. Talking damage, by the way, keep in mind that we have heroes like Greymane still around, okay, so he can still be taken. So instead of banning the ETC out as the follow-up, which is of course immediately being taken, I mean, no surprises here, they ban out the damage component, they ban out Jaina. But ETC could have been the potential ban for them to just avoid the entire problem, like the chain at least, like the combo potential. As expected, Rhaegar is taken. So ETC Rhaegar, that was a no-brainer here. I mean, like, no doubt about that. Those were the two picks. There was no question about it. If ETC would have been banned out, then Jaina might have been the option for Gale Force. But in this case, they don't have another choice. That's a very strong setup for them. OVO, they apparently don't go into Tyrande with Tassadar, but move into that Brightwing, which we've seen. That would open up Peekaboo on level 4 as a possibility and put another counter play against Zeratul. So overall, not really a bad idea. You have the preload on the shields with Tassadar that helps, of course, Li Ming also to survive. It makes potential one-shots much harder. And you have a nice amount of vision thanks to Tassadar Oracle and Brightwing Peekaboo on level 4. So Zeratul is going to have a very tough time moving in these situations. They still need some damage though, and that's where we could see Greymane. So Greymane is definitely a good option for them. Oh, Reyna. Haven't seen you in a while, Jimmy. Looks like they're going for the commander. But Greymane is still around. Personally, I'm a bit surprised that they don't go for Greymane in this case. I feel like he could have been a great asset. But Reyna, of course, can get a huge amount of power in here as well. And Thrall picked together with Zeratul. I have to admit that this draft is pretty scary. You have not really too much range damage. The Gara is there, and she can be very annoying with her abilities in the Hunter Killer. But Thrall sundering into the potential Mosh Pit, the setup with Maw, the setup with Void Prison. Like, when it comes to control, the amount that we are seeing from Gale Force Esports is actually extremely scary. Range poke is something that they don't have though, so if you can keep the opponent on a distance, that would be great. I mean, like, one of the most perfect things against this would have been Mighty Gust, for example, but Falset has been banned out, as we already explained. Looking at the setup, I'm currently thinking about Emerald Wind on Brightwing. Normally you would say, okay, Brightwing is going to give us a lot of like the burst heals that we might need, but Emerald Wind for potential disengage after Sundering, after ETC slides in, might actually be your best option here. So I'm really curious to see what exactly is going to happen on the side of OVO when they are starting to choose their rogue abilities. But guys, let's jump into the game. We have Cursed Hollow as our second map in the best of 3 series here. Group C at the end of the storm, North America. Game number 2, everybody. OVO is in the lead, and well, we are currently looking on the left side of the map in blue on Gale Force Esports with Equinox on Zeratul, with A on Zagara. We have Hexo on Rhaegar, Mystique on Thrall, and we have Fury on ETC. So to the right side of the map, OVO with the Oculus on Muradin, Wilted on Tassadar, Gilletta on Reyna, the commander is back, Trap Queen on Brightwing, and Insomnia is playing Li Ming. Overall, the setup that we currently see is extremely control-heavy when we're looking at Gale Force Esports. They are in a position where they have Maw, they have also Mosh Pit, they have Void Prison, and they're also running that with the Sundering here. So it's a lot of Wombo combo potential, and in teamfight, it's going to be very dominant, like at least the opportunity to section off parts of the opponent's team and really control that. And basically, what has to happen here on the part of OVO is they have to split. They have to split the entire time. And we already have a couple of adjustments here. The Ether Walk has been taken on level 1, in this case right now. So the teleport that you can use, just like jumping all across the map, it gives you a lot of mobility on Liming. Having also Seasoned Marksman now used by Reyna as the level 1 talent. But the team fights after level 10, they are going to be very crucial. And actually with the setup here, as I mentioned during the draft, we could see also Brightwing head straight into the Emerald Wind. Normally with a double support here, you could really see her go straight into the potential Blink heal, but with this, disengage is going to be very important. If you get Maud, if you get Void Prison, then you have to be sure that you can somehow get away from that, because ETC is going to be ready with a Mosh Pit. Sundering can be used as an initiate or as a follow-up. But Brightwing in this case has already been taken out up at the top lane. So Brightwing is down, was looking for friends, found 3, but they were not really too happy. Friends? Still sounding like a frog on crack, I don't know why, but like, yeah, I can't make that sound. My vocal cords just aren't made for this. Brightwing is jumping into the mid lane right now, and Muradin is starting to rotate over. Right into the hands of Fury, and Equinox is there as well. And Muradin is trying to jump in. Uh-oh. Hop, little dwarf. Hop, hop, hop. And he does. Well, at least he tries, but we could see is Fury going to slide in. They're diving deep, and they get the kill. They dive for the kill, and they get it. Fury is actually walking in the wrong direction, if you ask me. If he would have moved up to the top left, he would have been much safer, because we already saw Zagara move in with a minion. So either way, it worked out in the end. ETC is back to base. At the bot lane, there's a lot of experience lost, but of course with Zagara pushing the top, they are already in a lead in EXP as well. So Gale Force Esports with a very solid setup here. We're having again the poke build for Thrall with a chain lightning. 1 fort down, but it looks like at least Tassadar is going to fall here. Yes, Tassadar is down. Equinox is down too, though. It's a 1-for-1 exchange in this case. We're still having Brightwing low, and first of all the kill against Reyna. Brightwing 2 and Gale Force Esports. Wow, the rage after the loss in game number 1 is real. They are jumping in, starting to take down opponents left, right, bottom, and center. Incredibly well done, actually, here. Insomnia on his Liming had to move back too. Of course, this is more or less going to result in a free tribute. Well, actually thinking about it, it's not necessarily, because Brightwing can just like simply hop in with a quick blink, so that's going to work. We're having Leeching Plasma taken on level 4. Reyna, of course, went straight into his focus attack. He's currently on 5 Seasoned Marksman stacks. Not really too great, but, well, he has died once, so that made things a little bit rough. Feral Heart for Muradin, Vorpal Blades for Zeratul, and they're jumping in again. Liming is down. Equinox with a kill, and Tassadar is also incredibly low. Rhaegar was trying to use his totem here to lock him down, but that didn't happen. So already in the early game, a huge lead here for the blue team, and after level 10, this is going to get even scarier. One of the things that I want to highlight once more is that we have Peekaboo now taken on level 4, so it indeed is going to be that vision against Zeratul. Knowing where Zeratul is doesn't necessarily save you, though. Fury is currently in the mid lane trying to put some more pressure onto the towers, but the rotations are there. So at this point, we have a huge level lead, we have a talent lead for Gale Force Esports, and OVO, they have to just like take a deep breath and say like, alright guys, let's calm down, concentrate, and take this from here on out. Because we are starting to fall apart a little bit. It's already 6 kills against 1, and we are only 4 minutes into the game, so that's a bit incredible. Here comes the level 7, and that's now an opportunity to fight on even talents once again. Brightwing going straight into the face shield. We have Calamity taken now as well. There's the Piercing Bolt, and we are seeing Kala's Embrace. Preloads are going to start now, and that is what has to happen. Here comes the Tribute. It's one that they should really try to fight for, since there's a pretty decent chance that they will end up fighting against level 10 in the next battle. At the bot lane, we're already seeing, well, still Brightwing present, and it means Brightwing can jump in at the top if need be. Thrall is starting to make his way over. Brightwing trying to get at least a bit, but already the kill against Li Ming even before the fight started. Now that is, well, let's call it unfortunate, because that's basically going to be a free tribute here for Gale Force Esports, and they already have that. They're trying to go for another kill, and they get Reyna in the middle now as well. Equinox might fall, but nope, he doesn't. He even gets away. Like, things could really not be much worse for OVO at this point. Well, it could be much worse if they would have lost the first map, I suppose. But in this particular game, not really. 8 and 1 kills and an early level 10 plus the potential curse against them, that is a disaster, and that is a huge problem. I mean, after level 10 we have so much zoning potential here for Gale Force Esports that controlling a fight is going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for OVO. So not sure how that's going to work out for them. Right now, another fort is going to fall, tribute is spawning on the map, and well, guess what? Yes, indeed, you're right. How did you know? Level 10 is going to be ready for the blue team. So we're having already Void Prison, Maw, Ancestral Healing, Sundering, and Mosh Pit. Like, this is a nightmare scenario. One misstep and you're going to lose your entire team, and they know it, of course, as well. Everybody's moving in. Brightwing jumps into. Why are they trying to fight here? Like, this is suicide. What they're doing right now is totally suicide. They need to split. They need to go in the lanes. They need to soak 3 lanes. They need to give it up. They're going to be cursed. They won't be able to prevent that. But they might lose a few heroes before it happens. And yes, that's what's going to happen here. Tassadar is down. I'm not sure what OVO was doing here. That was a really bad call. They should have gone to the lanes. They should have made sure that they soak. The curse was absolutely unavoidable. There was no way of them not getting cursed, not against an heroic ability, and now they also lost Tassadar, which is definitely going to make things even worse. The push in the middle is already happening. We have level 11 versus level 9. Insomnia is trying to poke, and you get some value out of that, but this is going to be another fort that is potentially falling. At the bot lane, Zagara is pressuring against Brightwing. We're seeing ETC trying to wrap around maybe even, and if he slides in for the mosh pit, they can maybe even get a triple mosh off. Yeah, there's at least the Void Prison. Now we have a Void Prison set up, and the mosh as the immediate follow-up. Goodbye, Brightwing. Brightwing is down. Here comes the Sundering. Oh my god. Zeratul still dies though. Like, they get the kill against Zeratul, and there's the level 10s now. Rhaegar is also killed. They dove maybe a bit too deep for this. Blink kill, by the way, over the Emerald Wind. And this integrate has been chosen too. Zagara was not with the team at this point. It was a 5 versus 4, which is one of the reasons why we saw that kill against them. Oh, the last shot. Laser beams! And Zagara body blocking Thor resulted in the War Chief's death. But the bot lane fort has been eliminated. They go for boss. They have eliminated every single fort, by the way. Like, every single one has been taken out. It's still a 1.5 level lead. I suppose that the last battle up there could have been a bit more smooth for Team Gale Force Esports, but overall they're still looking strong. But at least it's an even fight now. And with an even fight, I mean, like, we have level 10s for both of the teams. 13 is going to be ready any moment now, on the other hand, for the team in blue, and that's going to help them. They take boss down here to the bottom of the map, but up at the top lane we're seeing now the very same picture as we already have an approach by Gale Force, or by OVO, to go for a boss themselves. The rotation is there, on the other hand, and well, Mirrodin has been found. He's trying, but yeah, Zeratul is slightly too late. Force Wall has already been used. They're going for defense immediately, and keep in mind that the big difference between these two bosses is that this one is just going to run into a wall at the fort, whereas the one at the bot lane has to be met by an immediate reaction since he is already threatening keep. So that's a pretty big deal. The level 13 talents are bringing us now the tidal waves for Rhaegar. We're seeing Wormhole for Zeratul, Mutalisk for Zagara, and we have at the same time now also the Grace of Air taken for the double Frostwolf Resilience stacks on Thrall, making him a bit more sustainable even. And besides that, also the Showstopper. So a little bit of more of survivability for, or not, well, sustainability, I would rather say, for ETC. We have still all of those chain CCs that they have in the fights, and really communication is going to be key for Gale Force Esports. At this point, if they get the engage, they should always be able to at least get 1 or 2 kills during these fights. So communication is going to be incredibly important. If you really communicate properly, then you will have great fights. If you, of course, make a couple of mistakes, then we could end up seeing something like a Sundering into a Void Prison with bad timing, or Void Prison with Maw being used like without any synergy whatsoever. Stuff like that. That could happen if they don't have the synergy. That is definitely a threat here. But if they play it right, if they make sure that they have good communication, then they can, for example, put a chain lock on the heroes in the back line with Maw into Void Prison, or the other way around. They could try to just like isolate the rest with a good mosh. Equinox, on the other hand, talking about isolation, is trying to get away. Nice wormhole here, but he still falls. Not that easily fooled. So we are seeing OVO starting to fight their way back a little bit. 10 deaths on their side against the 5s that we're seeing for Team Gale Force Esports. But overall, it's still level 13 talents versus level 13 talents. And here comes now the relentless leader for Reyna, makes him a bit more safe. Also, we are seeing next to Calamity on level 7, now the Illusionist on 13, taken for Li Ming. And on top of all of this, the Ice block for Bright. Greater healing, still very likely on level 16. But right now, the big question is, of course, by the way, Brightwing, of course, doing an incredible job, like trying to bring them a bit closer in experience. But the big question at this point is really going to be with the engage that we're going to see from Gale Force Esports in the next fight. Because if they start losing heroes randomly on the map, then they are going to be in a lot of trouble. And they already allowed the opponent to really close the gap in experience. They need to make sure that the fights happen on their terms, that they are able to just like move in and get their chain CC going. If that happens and if they communicate it well, they should be able to win these fights. But if the momentum turns against them, then we're talking, of course, different scenario here. And especially Insomnia needs to be safe on his Li Ming. That's incredibly important. He died so often in the earlier fights. Here comes the engage for one of the tributes already. Everybody getting in position. Equinox, Void Prison. There it is. Void Prison used. ETC, where are you? There he is. The Maw immediately as a follow-up. And here comes the immediate reaction from the heroic ability. One hero down, but that's 3 heroics that were used for that. Double kill though, as Brightwing falls as well, and ETC is about to finish them off again. The control in these fights is incredible. The triple Void Prison initiated all of this, and I mean we had Void Prison into Maw, and ETC then took the chance to move straight in for the Mosh Pit. Mosh Pit didn't really hit the entire try setup, but still they got the kills and they ended up with a quad kill without losing anybody on their party. So right now we're having the Rending Cleave on level 16, so Zeratul is going to get even more damage out in these situations where he can just like simply jump in. We also have with Earthgrass Totem more lockdown. I mean, as if they didn't already have enough control during these fights. Now they have even more. Use the Maw and then you drop just simply a Totem on top of it or next to it, and you are going to be in a great spot. Tempest Fury and the Echo Paddle, so the situation could not be much better for them. And, well, we are seeing the Oculus starting to jump in. They need level 16 right now. They want to dish out the damage against the first of these camps. But here comes the potential curse. It's a tricky one. Do you fight? Personally, I really believe that they should probably... Well, right now the advantage that they have going into the battle is that a lot of the cooldowns are still active. So they might not have the level 16 talent, but they know that at least Mosh and Maw are not going to be ready. Ancestral is also not ready, so that gives them a chance to fight here. Most of their heroic abilities are up, so they can use those. But Muradin is in trouble, and here comes the Void Prison again. Muradin already eliminated, and this is not looking good. Not at all. Yeah, here comes that kill, and they get it in against Reyna. That's a lot of the damage already gone. Ancestral comes up again and is immediately being used. Wilted moves away. Is actually going to survive. At least it looks like he will. Trap Queen jumped in, but look who's coming in from the side. It's Zagara. Zagara with the ability power. Brightwing is about to fall here as well. Brightwing down. Oh, actually, Brightwing. Ah, yeah, Brightwing falls, and Tassadar does as well. At least Insomnia is able to teleport over the wall and is able to escape with a second quick teleport here. But the curse is now ready, and they are going to go for the core at this point. Great play on the side for Gale Force Esports. They want to force the third game, and it looks very much like that's exactly what they're going to achieve here. We have actually all of the keeps falling because they're starting to split off. They are not going to go for the core just yet. They want to get all of the keeps and play it safe. Keep number 1 is down, keep number 2 is falling, and keep number 3 at the top lane is also not going to survive. Great play here by Gale Force Esports, very well done. In the last fight, it was really one of those moments where the only reason why we actually saw OVO commit to a battle over the curse was that they realized, hey, a lot of the heroic abilities are on cooldown. If not for that, I highly doubt that they would have done it, because that level 16 talent is of course an advantage that you have. Usually you try to not fight when you have a talent disadvantage, but they realized that a huge win condition on the part of Gale Force Esports is just locking those or synergize, like having like the synergy between the heroic abilities, and with so many of them still on cooldown, they had a chance to jump in and take that fight. It didn't really work out in the end, but it was a good effort. Oh my god, the Maw, but immediately cancelled. Maybe now the chance. Maw is out. Void Prison, sorry, not Maw, but Mosh Pit. Mosh Pit is out. Maw is now being used. Void Prison is still being ready. No kills yet, but it's 16 versus 16 talents, and they're trying to take the fight here. The boss had to be cancelled and abandoned. The bullseye now for Reyna on level 16 with a dimensional warp for Tacita. And Muradin, of course, has now also on 16 his stone form. Yeah, this is starting to become a little bit tricky at that part. They need to try and make a bit of a play before level 20 hits and maybe get a kill here. So Muradin jumps on over. We have Trap Queen following it up, but they are attempting to lock someone down. They could actually fight right now. A lot of their heroic abilities are already gone. Here comes again the Disintegrate, trying to even cover the retreat a little bit. But guess what? Zeratul is just like saying, you know what? If you guys fight down there, if you girls are just trying to have a little bit of a sissy fit over that boss at the bot lane, then I'm gonna go simply straight for the core, because guess what? That's what we need to do to win here. And yeah, everybody's moving back, and with all of those catapults firing at the core, it looks very much like he's going to finish it. Void Prison used, Equinox, he has shit to do, he wants to go, he has a date or something, so he's trying to end the game, and he's not able to. But he nearly did it! 10% on the core, the rest of the team is saying like, alright buddy, we get it, we're gonna help you out here, and they finish what he started. Job well done, level 20 talents the last moment too, but this is gonna be the end of game number 2, and we're gonna head straight into the third map of the series. Game number 3, everybody, with OVO going up against Gale Force Esports. And a ban on Greymane this time, with, of course, the option to let Zul go through this time. OVO, well, we've had him banned twice already. Kovash, thank you very much for the resub, my friend. Battlefield of Eternity is our last map, and OVO, they could ban out Zul, or they could just simply say, well, you guys know what, we are going to let him go through, but instead we're going to ban someone else, like, for example, that Zeratul or Zagara. And Zagara, it seems to be, that would allow the Necromancer to make an appearance here in the third and final series. So, call me intrigued. I'm ready. I'm ready. And this is going to be Zul. Are we going to see him? That Bone Prison value right there. I mean, it's a 2-lane map, of course. So, oftentimes when you talk Zul, you think about siege damage. And on a 3-lane map, it's a little bit easier to really just like push lanes the entire time and get all the value out of this. But also like his team fight capabilities are pretty high, especially with Bone Prison. You can get a lot of value out of it just because you are locking a target down, and then you can hit any kind of follow-up stun, for example, or just damage, just burst. And indeed, Zul is apparently going to start us up here. So Zul already being played in this case, and let's find out how OVO is going to react. Li Ming for the poke from a distance against the Immortals, of course, always a great tool. Are we going to see maybe a bit of an earlier commitment to Rhaegar, or is it that Muradin again that we've now seen several times? Oh, neither. It is a Tyrande. I mean, Tyrande on Battlefield of Eternity is a good pick because you can actually like help burst the Immortals down. And, well, you also take her away from the Zul combo, which can be nice because Zul's Bone Prison can be followed up by an immediate stun from Tyrande. But a big plus for Tyrande on this map is really her trade. So that's one of these things that you always have to consider when you see a Tyrande on Battlefield of Eternity. You need to make sure that when you go for the Immortal fights that you actually use your trade for the Immortal, and then you basically win any race. So the team with Tyrande should always go for the race on the hit points and not go for the defense. Gale Force Esports with Rhaegar as their pick, and that isn't really a surprise at all. Rhaegar is still one of those high priority picks, and Rhaegar plus Muradin taken. Those were the heroes that I actually personally expected, one of them at least, for OVO to be taken. But as both of them are still available, because Tyrande was prioritized higher, Gale Force Esports says thank you very much, and they lock both of them down. It's already a pretty scary setup. Bone Prison on Zul can be used, and then Muradin can wait for the Storm Bolts, put that in as well. They need, of course, still some burst damage, and that's why I could see a ban on maybe even Jaina. Jaina has pretty nice damage against the Immortal as well, but you can use her for that poke against the target that gets locked down by Zul. But Jaina overall has been picked a bit less. Like, she is still picked, she was banned out in a few of the games already, but she hasn't had that, she doesn't really have that high priority anymore. Like, we had a time when you had always that fight over Jaina and Kalthas for the two teams. And then Kalthas got nerfed a little bit, Jaina got a little bit buffed, and everybody was like saying, alright, Jaina was god tier, but right now she is just like so crazy. But then we had Greymane coming into play, we had Li Ming, and now with all of these heroes suddenly being around and them not heavily focused on the cooldown, we see a lot of Jainas actually being ignored. An Illidan ban right now for OVO Personally, I find that a bit surprising considering the setup that Gale Force Esports is running right now. Illidan can be extremely powerful, and of course with Illidan compositions, we've oftentimes seen Rhaegar plus Tacita for an Illidan, so he can be very, very strong. But considering that we already have Tyrande taken, that can help with an Illidan burst, and that OVO has the opportunity to react to an Illidan, I think they didn't really have to ban him out here. Maybe we're going to see if they're going to like draft something specific. But for now, I'm a little bit worried that they might run into a combo where any target that Zul locks down with the Bone Prison is going to be blasted away. Stitches as a lockdown would have been pretty sweet. I mean, Battlefield of Eternity is a map where Stitches gives you a lot of value, and if you have a Tyrande, hook into stun is incredibly strong. So that's definitely something that I could have seen here. They go into Vala and apparently a Johanna instead. Now, Vala is nice for the poke. Johanna, in this case, is also a very great solo frontliner. But I have to say that in regards to synergy, I currently like more what we see for Gale Force Esports. But what they still need is damage, and they need some burst damage for Zul. So, again, we're looking at a potential Jaina. We have Thrall still around as well, so you could play Thrall, but you still need something ranged. It's also a possibility that we're going to see Lunara here. Lunara can be played as well. We've seen her several times yesterday, but it seems like that Zeratul is very appealing to Gale Force Esports. If they pick Zeratul, they still need some range damage. So Zeratul plus a Jaina would maybe be a great combo here, because... Or Falstad, my bad. Falstad, sorry bird. The chicken has been chosen. I completely forgot about Falstad here. That's definitely on me. For some reason I thought he was banned out. Falstad, amazing in any kind of setup. Not that heavy burst against a single target for Zulia that you get with the Jaina, but with Zeratul and Falstad you still have enough to make that work. Looking at the setup that we have, I would say that Gale Force Esports definitely won that draft with flying colors here already. Not that OVO can't win with what they have here, but the potential that we are seeing for Gale Force Esports is pretty much incredible. And OVO, they have an opportunity to really just like use those heals with Charism and with Tyrande. Charism could even go for Foresight on level 4 to make sure that they have a bit more vision on Zeratul if he wants to. But it's going to be a very scary setup for Gale Force Esports. I really feel that in this case, OVO might have been a bit better advised to go through with plan A that they had and just simply lock down that Stitches, that they have Tyrande Stitches for hook and lock down, try to get a hold of Zul, try to get a hold of Rhaegar or Falstad. But in this case now they are heavily dependent on Li Ming and Vala staying alive, and with Zeratul plus Zul around, this is going to become a bit tricky. So we're going to find out if they're able to still make it happen, or if Gale Force Esports is going to win the second game in a row to advance to face Tempo Storm in the next round. So guys, stay tuned. We're going to jump into game number 3, which is going to be Battlefield on a tap. Game number 3, everybody. The deciding map is Battlefield of Eternity, and we have Gale Force Esports against OVO. And to the left side of the map, we are seeing, in blue, Equinox on Zeratul. We have Fury on Muradin, Hexo on Rhaegar, Mystique on Xul, and we see A on Falstad. And well, to the right side of the map, currently in red, we are having the setup for OVO with Johanna, played by the Oculus. We are currently seeing Trap Queen on Charism. We have Giletto on Vala. We're seeing Wilted on Tyrande, and Insomnia playing Li Ming. So it's a pretty interesting setup that we have here. The draft looks very strong, especially for Gale Force Esports. A lot of synergy that they have here and a lot of potential to lock a target down and burst it away. So they definitely have a very cool setup for this. Tyrande, of course, going to add quite some value for the opponent, for OVO as well, because in this case it's going to be a bit easier for them to burst the Immortals down and get control over the objective. Vala, again, with the auto-attack build that we've already seen a little bit earlier. And we have, at the same time now, for Tyrande, still Empower taken as a level 1 talent for the cool introduction. Zul went into Shade. We've already pretty much used to seeing that. And we have an interesting setup here, actually. Usually it's a 4-1 split on this map on the 2 lanes, but we have seen 2 heroes at the top lane bursting a wave away, and now immediately starting to make their way down to the bot lane, apparently seeing if they can maybe lock somebody down there. But since Charism realized what was happening, he immediately made that call and said, like, boys, somebody's missing up here. So they played it safe. Now Zul is back, and we have again that battle, lockdown attempt against Falstad and Hexo on his Rhaegar. So that was a bit of a, not really a close call, but it was a bit of a scary moment there for sure. Oh, the damage! Yeah, well, Falstad, you need to be careful, because guess what? Li Ming likes a chicken. And, well, she's going to try and cook that down. So, for now, we have Fury just, like, waiting for a chance to maybe get a Stormbolt in. And he does against Johanna. So far, so good. Of course, up at the top lane, we're having Zul just, like, pressuring this in. And that means the first tower is already gone. This just showcases, once again, how much siege power Zul actually has. But it's time for the objective. And Equinox has to be extremely careful here because the opponent already realized where he was positioned. But yes, now the blue team has to defend, and we already talked about why. Because Tyrande. Tyrande with that extra damage potential against the Immortal is going to be great to win the objective. And it's one of the huge win conditions that we have on the side of the red team. If they can use that to their advantage, then they can maybe make up for the lack of lockdown compared to what we're seeing here from Gale Force Esports. Here comes again an attempt to go for Li Ming. Stun is being dodged. Bone Prison used against Vala, but the heal is there. And in the meantime, we have Falstad trying to put the pressure on down here, but you can already tell that they are losing those Immortals really hard, and that is definitely Tyrande and her particular trade. It's going to be an easy burst. That first Immortal, there's no way that the blue team is going to win it. They're going to lose that, but of course it's an early one, and therefore we are probably going to see it not doing too much damage. Probably going to go through the wall, put a bit of pressure on the fort, but that should be about it. The teams aren't on level 4 just yet. Falstad is taking the bot lane where everybody else is just moving up to the top. Later on in the game, when the team fights are really going to be one of the dominant scenarios, yeah, that's really where the team or where the setup of Gale Force Esports is going to shine. We're seeing them with the Death's Reach, so the Scythe has the increased range, which is actually like very cool. It's like one of the builds that we've seen a couple of times. We've even seen a full Scythe focus already in the tournaments here. Fury trying to pressure at the bot lane. Up at the top, we have Zul defending against the Immortal. And so far, is actually doing a pretty solid job here. So Zul is in position, only experienced Sorg from Karazim, one tower down, and the second one is now being attacked, but Zul should be able to make that work. Wow! Look at Falstad. Oh, Vala is dead. Everybody else gets away. That was crazy, especially Falstad at like no hit points left whatsoever. Vala with level 4 Manticore now. In comes Fury, Stormbolt against Li Ming, and goodbye, girl. She is gone. It is an all-girls squad that we're seeing for the red team, with the exception of Karazim. And yeah, I don't mind that at all. I mean, Karazim is going to get himself some action here. I'm talking about the top lane, of course. He's up against Mystique at this point, but he probably feels pretty comfortable fighting with 4 beautiful girls against the forces of evil, because what else is a Necromancer? Mystique at the top lane as Rhaegar falls down to the bottom of the map, and once again, the bird is low. So it's time, chicken for dinner, that's what Insomnia wants here. But A is moving away, has the barrel roll ready, and can just simply bust it. Also, another thing that I want to highlight real quickly is that we have in terms of builds no Gathering Storm this time. It is instead the Seasoned Marksman. So Seasoned Marksman build has been chosen, auto attack build. Falstad can now be played in a couple of ways after Blizzard started to change things up a little bit. And that's actually pretty cool. We're having also now Cleanse taken here for Rhaegar. Doesn't really surprise too much. Karazim, on the other hand, that's going to be a little bit more interesting. Personally, I feel that Cleanse is a great talent if you're going up against Bone Prison, and there's a little bit more to consider than only that. You have, of course, also that Stormbolt on Mirrodin, which can be quite a nuisance. But you get good heals out of Echo of Heaven, so it's always a choice. It's always a choice that you have to make at this talent, with both having their advantages, but at least by now, since Blizzard changed it a bit, you have a good, like, it's not really, it doesn't hurt you as much anymore to go for the Cleanse. So, with this being said, we're having still no level 7 talent taken. Yeah, he's waiting a little bit. But we are seeing on 4 the Charged Blast and also Seeker right now. And at the same time, everybody else is starting to walk straight into the middle at this point and trying to go for the Immortal again. Look at the blue team. They're already looking to defend their own because they know that Tyrande is going to put that extra damage in. Well, let's see. We're having, yeah, the Oculus already there. Okay, so far it's not going to be too bad. But Li Ming in trouble in the backline. Equinox with a huge amount of damage. Falstad flies in. They go for Vala. And they get their kill. Vala is down. The Oculus is on the run now. And Falstad flow in. Here comes that Void, the Bone Prison once again. And the kill against Johanna. Johanna dead, and an interesting choice for Karazim. Karazim went for Clairvoyance. Now, if I didn't see one talent not coming, then it was this. Clairvoyance, of course, is interesting and cool against Zeratul, so Equinox apparently highly respected by the red team, but very surprising that they actually did not go into yeah, into like either heal or into cleanse. Cleanse against Bone Prison, again, I like it. But teams so far have not really prioritized it. Cooldowns are of course always the thing. 60-second cooldown on cleanse is no joke. But we have on level 7 now also for Zul an adjustment with Ratma's Blessing, so he gets a bit more heal when he starts to summon his Skeleton Warriors. But at this point, even with the extra damage thanks to Tyrande, the blue team is starting to get a bit ahead. So the red team is really, they're really struggling at this point. And that is already showcasing what we've been talking about earlier. In the later stages of the game, when the death time is a little bit higher and team fights are a bit more dominant, that's where the blue team is going to shine. And that's exactly what happens here now, at this point. So, level 9.5 versus level 8.5, and Zul is up at the top lane, and he does what he does best. He just moves in and says, like, siege damage. So, at the bot lane, a 4 versus 5 fight. Not quite sure why they would engage into that. They should actually try to buy some time for Zul. Here comes Fury in a lot of trouble. He is on cooldown on his draft toss, is trying to buy time and rushes away here, but he's going to fall eventually. There's the kill against Muradin. At the top, nearly the kill against the fort though. Level 10 is very close, but now the chance for the red team once again to go straight for the Immortal. That also means, of course, that the blue team can try to take it down to the bottom. They won't be able to succeed, but they will be able to get there to a very low amount of shields. And that alone is already worth it. So it's going to be level 10 most likely. Zeratul, for example, didn't even go with them. It's going to be level 10 for them earlier, so it should be an easy defense. Should be an easy defense here. And we're having for them the Poison Nova now taken. And once that they defend, they will still be in a pretty sweet spot. I mean, despite the early Immortal that they lost, they are already ahead in experience. They have 4 kills against 2. They're looking pretty strong here. Immortal's going to lose those shields right away, and then it's going to switch from range mode into melee mode. So that's the next thing that we are going to see here. Well, we could end up with a fort falling, but I don't really believe it will. Level 10 is now there, and that changes things a bit. So the fort is probably going to go down. They get it a bit earlier than I thought. Here comes, by the way, no Rain of Vengeance, but the Strafe. We have also Disintegrate. Immortal finishes the fort, and then we have the fight turning around again. But still the lead in experience for the blue team. So Gale Force Esports is still slightly ahead. And as we said before, and as we've seen in the last few games, the game is getting, is leaning a bit more in their favor. And yeah, if they can get those kills in again, that would be great. One of the moves, of course, would be against Tyrande. If you get the Bone Prison against her and Zeratul jumps in, that would be most certainly death for her. Up at the top lane, big push happening once again. And this is just, like, there's no way. Vala should really stay away from this one, because if Bone Prison hits her and Zeratul jumps in together with Muradin, then she is just dead. So she needs to be really careful how far she goes in for this one. It's a fort versus a fort in trades that we have seen so far. Already, we're looking at the setup here. We have camps taken on both of the maps. By the way, you could probably see in the last Immortal fight how fast those hit points are starting to really decrease once that Tyrande puts the extra damage in. It's pretty sick. I mean, like, that hit point body, do you see that? It was just like, zip, and it was gone. And that's basically what Tyrande does for you on this map. Still with a double support, because let's face it, Tyrande's heal just sucks. These days, it's not what it once was. You can still, with certain setups, play Tyrande solo support if you have a lot of self-sustain on the rest of your lineup, but usually you try to combo Tyrande with a second support, or at least like a semi-support. I mean, you could, in theory, play the Charism with, I suppose, a damage build. But Tyrande solo basically forces you to win the game early on, because you need to just snowball it a little bit. In this case, on the other hand, we have them with the double support. It's all good in the hood, and we're seeing here, of course, like strong heals, but they need that sustain as well, because they're only running a single front. So once again, here comes the Oculus, starts to move in. Those heals are going to be very important in the upcoming fights now, but we are on level 10, and that means that we can see Poison Nova at this point. And Poison Nova, that's one of those moments when you really probably should wait with your Shadow Stalk a bit until that has been triggered, so that you can negate a lot of the damage. They're going for the fight again, and the blue team has still Zul at the top lane. They're trying to defend a bit, but here comes Equinox. Is he going to go for the Void Prison? They're starting to jump in on Tyrande. They're trying to get her. Shadow Stalk has been used. The Gust as well, trying to lock them down. Strafe in the back. Equinox still without it. Mystique comes in, and Poison Nova. Oh, the damage, the pain, and the kills! Not quite resets double kill. What? The blue team loses 2 heroes. Only Johanna dies, and they are losing Zul as well. That was not really what I expected after that Poison Nova flank. The Zul flank is there, and did you actually see all of these guys? Nearly all of them were dead. They looked dead, but then nobody finished them off. Nobody finished them off. The finishing blow just wasn't there. And all of a sudden, Li Ming gets reset after reset and after reset. And she's just like, what up, guys? And just lasers them all to death. The laser show was there. And well, for now, we're having Decrepify now being used as well for the slow. We're seeing Giant Killer with that auto attack build. But yeah, this is getting a bit ridiculous. 15 extra damage currently on Falstad. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, that he didn't go for the Gathering Storm here. I feel like on this map it's really difficult for Falstad to get very good stacks on his Season Marksman. There comes again the laser beams, but we have everybody else starting to jump the backline. The coordination is a bit off now on the side of Gale Force Esports. They are definitely impressed by these last few fights. But here comes the attack against Li Ming. She blinks away, gets Bone Prison super low, but is still alive and pokes the entire time. Also the Oculus nearly falling, but Falstad had to get away here. Clairvoyance used for the vision. Now on level 30, look at that, Tempered by Discipline has been used here. That's an interesting one. So at this point, we're actually going to see a bit of Life Leech for Vala. Haven't seen that talent since the Alpha, to be honest with you, where you could go into Vampiric Assault on 4 into Tempered Discipline, and you could kill a boss with still maintaining full health the entire time. I actually think you can still do that. Yeah, the account. Nice Gust after Void Prison. Johanna is there. They're going to turn it around again. No, they killed Johanna. I mean, they focus on the tank. There's such a squishy backline in the back, but with the teleport on Li Ming, the only hero that really is still there to kill is Johanna. And Johanna is just like saying, yeah, focus the damage on me, that's fine. The problem is that now Equinox is finally saying, Insomnia, you are mine. And down she goes. Oh, that's an awful feeling. If you're trying to palm a hero, he dies, and instead the palm is applied to yourself. Trap Queen, half a second too late, and this is a quad kill. So right now, Gale Force Esports is probably like just yelling in voice. They're just saying like, got it! But they lost the Immortal, and that is a bad boy. This guy, he lifts houses and throws them at other skyscrapers. Like, he's like one of those Godzilla type guys that just like moves through Tokyo, picks up a skyscraper and starts hitting people with it. Full shields on that bad boy, and that says goodbye to that fort immediately. But they got the kills at 9 versus 5. So these fights were actually like really cool. They were kind of interesting. And I mean, the frustration at the end for Gale Force Esports, I think they were just like screaming in voice. Think about it. They were trying to get the kills already at the first battle when the Poison Nova goes off. They not only don't get kills, but they lose 3 heroes. Then the fight continues a bit later on, and they're attempting to go for a Void Prism setup, which was actually not too bad. The problem was they hit the wrong heroes, and they couldn't lock down Li Ming. She burled it away, and in that moment, it was only Johanna left. They killed Johanna, but they nearly lose their heroes again. But in the end, they are able to get the kills in. And they are ahead. I mean, like, guys, yeah, they lost the fort at the top lane, but still, look at the experience. They are on level 16 by now, so we are having them with Stone Form Mirrored, we see the Earthgrass Totem, and we could see Zul with the Amplified Damage, or he can, of course, go once again into the side here. But Amplified Damage is an option, and yeah, now they're going into the side. Flowing Wounds has been taken, and the Hammer Time. Things are really starting to get a bit nasty. Nice move against Equinox! This was the get the fuck out of here combo, and it hit hard. Now Fury is on the point. Here comes the fight. Fury with the Ancestral Healing jumps out, and they steal the camp away. They don't have level 16, but they do not care. Oh boy, like these guys got 99 problems, but level 16 talent ain't one apparently. They just jumped in and said like, yeah, whatever. But Equinox, yeah, that was definitely one of those moments where it was just like, uh-oh. He thought himself cool, going in, coming back out with the wormhole, but you know what? They just anticipated that. Those things were actually like kind of funny. So at this point, we are having them starting to move around again. The fort at the bot lane has already been taken out. So in this case, this is actually working quite nicely. But it's time for the Immortal again. And yeah, let's see how that's going to work. Because, I mean, it is Immortal time, and that could be an early kill. They have to win an Immortal at some point, right? I mean, at some point, an Immortal has to be taken. But this is the kill against Zeratul. Great play here. Once again, the poke from a distance. And we have now level 16 talents for both of the teams. And as it happens, there's the mirror ball. We're having Ranger taken. And OVO is just simply saying like, yeah, we don't care. We're going to get those snipes in. And then we're going to dominate the Immortal fights. They are losing every time there's a big team fight. They are losing more heroes. But they get the kills at the perfect time. And that's all that they need. So once again, we have the moment here where we could actually see the Immortal end up in the hands of the red team. Zeratul is dead for another 10 seconds, and things are really starting to look worse and worse for Gale Force Esports. They are in an experience lead, but they are starting to really lose out on the objective and could lose the first keep of the game. So that's going to be, that's going to be a little bit annoying for them if they are really starting to lose this one too. For now though, on the other hand, we have Equinox back, and their rogue abilities are all ready. So this is like a chance that they have to just like jump in and maybe like get a kill. They of course have to be very careful that their opponent is not moving around them and goes for the Immortal again. So they are in a position where they kind of have to be split. They need to protect their own Immortal, but try to also burst the other one down. They want to have like a bit of a team fight at this point. So right now, everybody is starting to jump in again. And yes, there is already that Void in the back line, but Giletto gets away. Everybody is actually getting away here. What was that? That gust was atrocious. Oh, not quite sure what they intended with that. Kill on each side, Tirana down and Zeratul, but the Gust did nothing. The Gust did absolutely nothing. I'm not sure what the idea was here. I mean, theoretically, what you want to do is like gust everybody away so that you can focus on the few heroes that were trapped in the Void Prison. But in this case, it didn't gust anyone. It was basically like a gust that just slowed two heroes down in a position where they wanted to be in the first place. That, on the other hand, could be the kill against Vala, and they get it. But Zeratul! No, Zul! Zul is about to fall as well. Oh, Johanna is also very low. The Poison Nova has been used too. Fury wants the kill against Insomnia, but he doesn't get it. There's the clap. Falstad flies in. He can gust again. He gusts them away. Fury is trying to follow it up for a moment, but now they're starting to focus on the Immortal again. And guys, look at the Immortal hit points. I mean, there's nothing left. If Li Ming moves in and just pokes it once, it's going to be down, and that's all that they have to do here. In kills, 11 versus 7, but what a game we're watching here right now. Here comes the poke, and that's going to be the end of it. That's going to be the end of this one. 50% on the shields. They get it in, and now we are having 11 kills versus 7. We have Immortal. I think it's the third one. Is it the third or the fourth? I don't even know. I think it's actually the fourth at this point. Doesn't matter what. So far, we didn't see like a single Immortal for Gale Force Esports. And like, if you look at the damage output here, we have 60,000 on Vala with an auto attack build. Vala with the auto attack build and strafe is on 60,000 damage at this point already. So this is kind of crazy at this point. This is really getting crazy. Here comes again the attack, and well, at the bot lane right now, it's pressuring the key. So looking at, by the way, look at the siege damage on Zul, 140,000. Like, that boy means business. So they are starting to move in once again against the Immortal, but this is going to be the first keep of the game. Can they get maybe a kill here? Uh-oh, oh! Falstad needs to get healed. Here's the Ancestral. Well done. And they're starting to go maybe even for Core. If they get a kill, they will, but I doubt that they can pull that off. Oh, maybe! Vala locked down Void Prison! But the Bone Prison and Void Prison not really like locking the way that they wanted to. So it is the core that is being attacked right now. Still a 5 versus 5. That Immortal is strong. Zul is down. Poison Nova used on the other hand. Equinox is dead, and this is gonna be game most likely. We have 19 versus 19, and it looks like OVO is going to take it. I wouldn't have thought it possible with those drafts. I did not think it could work, but it did. OVO, they take the victory, and Gale Force Esports is defeated and finds themselves now in the losers match. And that is it, everybody. GG and well played. The game's over, and therefore also the video for today here on Khaldor TV. We had another great Heroes of the Storm match, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Also hope that you enjoyed the commentary, of course. So thank you very much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to Khaldor TV yet, you should definitely hit that sub button as well. If you have some friends that like Heroes of the Storm, then definitely make sure that you show them the channel and also the video. There's a lot more where that came from. We're going to have like continuous content throughout the next few weeks with more Heroes of the Storm matches played, not only on the European server, but also on the North American server, in tournaments, in leagues, and more than that. So guys, once again, thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope that you had some fun. It was a pleasure casting for you, and I'm going to see you next time with even more videos here on the channel. So have a great day, and see you soon. Bye-bye.